In this module of Behind the Mission Loan, we'll explore how to analyze your current business development practices, how to set business development goals, how to create a business development plan, and outreach and marketing strategies to increase loan volume. Mission lenders haven't always focused on business development, but today, intermediaries are social entrepreneurs and must prioritize business development activities because they are an essential component on delivering on your mission. Ultimately, borrowers transition to traditional lending, which makes your consistent cycle of outreach, sales, and marketing critical to your long-term success.
So when it comes to our overall strategy, business development and outreach is a core piece of what we do. We need to make sure that we're distinguishing ourselves as an industry from predatory lenders, online lenders, high-interest credit cards. And so we need to articulate to the community that we're mission-focused, we're small business success-focused. And that feeds into loan production and sales. The more people who understand who you are and what you do and why, the more they'll engage with you and your mission.
Whether you're building a business development plan for the first time or updating it on an annual basis, it is important to analyze existing relationships, data, and processes so you're best positioned to set goals and identify strategies to accomplish your goals. Review and document your history of loan referral sources, your networking activities, community outreach activities, community development partners, banks, and other lenders, and former loan customers who are sources of leads. Then, ask yourself, which of these entities make referrals? How many? What's the quality of the referrals? Which of these do not make referrals? Are there any activities that we always do that do not create referrals? If so, why do we continue doing them? Are there any activities we ought to do that may lead to referrals?
We have found that at the end of the day, there are only about 20% maximum of the lenders in the entire area, say let's 1,500 lenders, who really know how to utilize our services and capital to help their clients. They're the ones who call us, right? And the other 80%, although important, are not that important to us. So we've stopped spending our time with the 80% and nearly all of our time with the 20%. Real basic business principles here, but we had to learn this.
In the banking industry, it's very common for somebody to start at one bank and a couple years later they move on to another financial institution. And I've really used that to my advantage in that you form a relationship with somebody and they're at one bank and then a couple years later they move on to another financial institution. Well, I follow that person and then now that's my entry into the next financial institution. You know, you can't have lunch and coffee with everybody because there's no time to get your work done. So I try to utilize networking events as a way of making sure that I'm out there and people know I'm still active and still interested and hey, how's it going with you? And, you know, have you changed banks or are you in a different department? Just an opportunity to touch them again without having to make it be part of my contact management follow-up, basically.
There are a lot of partners that aren't financial institutions that are really powerful. I would start with the Office of the Governor with our state. They have a huge incentive to support small business and to drive economic development. And at a local and state level, we get resources, we get referrals, and we're able to work with those clients. And then as those clients are successful and they convert into loans or they obtain education, we turn around and tell that elected official, and then they can advocate for us on a policy standpoint. And so, I mean, it's killing a lot of birds with one stone, but referral partners like local government agencies, like peer nonprofits, you're just leveraging what you're already doing for greater success.
So roughly 70% of our closed loans, the loans that we make, come from bank referral. The other 30%, interestingly, over the years, have started to come from a very consistent place, and that is referral of former or current loan clients. And those are really consistently strong referrals, people that end up moving to underwriting. And I think it's because the borrowers that we're working with really get how we work.
The data you track should tell you which entities make the highest quality referrals, and also which entities do not source good leads. It could be that your organization puts efforts into activities that do not produce loan applications. Conversely, are there activities you could be doing that would lead to referrals? Spending time with your existing data will help you identify new loan referral sources.
It also involves really understanding what's going on in your community. Some of the things that are happening, if there's new businesses coming in. So you want to have those connections so that you in turn can make additional connections. So there's always those opportunities to just meet and greet and really, really get to know the people that you can work with and who want to work with you. Those contacts can be banks, credit unions, chambers of commerce, city council, MEDCs, EDCs. There's a lot of people out there.
Analyzing conversions is the next step in creating your business development plan. Having a deep understanding of your pipeline ratios is a prudent way to keep an eye on the performance of your sales team and allows you to set business development goals.
It's very important that you understand your ratios today in terms of how many prospects are coming through the door and how that equates to how many closed loans you're completing.
Marketing team sets goals by taking a look at what do we need to do to get from point A to point B. So we start by, we know that our sales team has a specific goal for the year. So we kind of back into the marketing goals from there. We know that we need to support the deployment of a certain dollar amount or a certain number of borrowers that we want to hit and support in a given year. And so we back into that. We look at our conversion rates and we figure out how many leads do we need to generate in order to reach that goal.
One of the critical elements is being able to continue to get financing from the SBA to get additional loan capital as you need it. One of the items that SBA requires you to give them is a pipeline report so that we can see that you have a need for that additional money. Everything that SBA is going to award to you is going to be based on need. So being able to track that pipeline of prospective and approved small businesses is a critical piece in getting additional capital from SBA.
To set business development goals, you must know your numbers. For example, how many of your leads submit an application to ultimately produce how many loans?
Yeah, one of the key attributes of our success is that we have yearly plans that we measure ourselves against. And we're checking in on them monthly, and they can change if we see things happening in the market that are unexpected. This year we have 3 key goals for 3 of our key products, and we are tracking those like nobody's business to make sure we get there. And we reward the staff as a whole if we reach our annual deployment goals. If we miss one of them, none of us is rewarded. And so it's all in. And I've always appreciated that about this organization, that we work to get there together.
So we know that our conversion rate is about 10 to 1. So we know that by the end of the year, if we want to have supported roughly 100 borrowers, then we need to get about 1,000 leads in the door.
So we're actually just embarking on our next 3-year strategic plan. With that, it's very high level. It's what do we really want to be? Where do we want to be at the end of those 3 years? And we have that framed out. But then the next level is, again, where rubber meets the road. What are some of those quantifiers? I mean, actual size of loan portfolio, actual number of loans that we're going to look at. What are the loans that are going to be in an SBA microloan fund? What are going to be community advantage guarantee loans? What might be some other mission loans and caveats we have, such as Kiva or place-based loans within different cities or areas? So very clear there. Numbers of clients served, that sort of sounds like an output a little bit, but it's still important. Are we going to grow the number of clients served on ground, online, on demand, or are we going to maybe even tighten that up in a different way? So those quantifiables. There also are some other areas in terms of really impact. We, over the last 10 years, have hung our hat on social indicators because you can't do it all.
So I would say that while we do have individual goals, we all are very clear on our metrics for success. We look at our dashboards every day in our CRM. We know clearly what we need to do to reach those goals as individuals. But despite that, we operate very much as a collective whole, as our president likes to say, we succeed together and we fail together. So we are rewarded as an organization when we meet those goals, and when we don't, we don't. But usually it's the former.
Developing that sales culture is critical. Without that, you're not going to be able to continue to increase your impact in the marketplace. And there's still a huge need for mission-based lending. We're only capturing a small piece of the market compared to the market that's out there. That sales culture and your ability to get the word out and bring in those prospective entrepreneurs is the critical piece to continue to grow the microlending business and industry.
If we see things are not working and data points us to resources are being spent and it's not converting, we take a hard look at it. Now, that doesn't mean we stop. It means we may need to be more responsive to the community that we're serving with the language that maybe something is not resonating in New Orleans, but it's resonating in Austin, Texas. Those are things that you have to pay attention to, and that doesn't mean turning the spigot off, because you have to restart every time. So being patient but being smart is important when looking at a digital strategy. And I use that example because we've seen it happen before, where it's the same seminar that we're providing in two different markets, but the customer base and the community base is responding very differently to the same type of marketing. So being open to recognizing where you need to pivot, what you need to change, looking at your demographics, which is data-driven as well, is important.
So I would say at MoFi, marketing and biz dev, the line between the two is sort of non-existent. We work really closely together. We're really one team working towards a common goal. There are 4 key parts to our marketing and business development strategy in terms of audiences that generate leads. The first and largest for us is banker outreach. The second is what we call friends and family. The third is organizational outreach, so local development organizations, businesses, nonprofits, things like that. And then the last is sort of a general catch-all for the general public, but ideally targeting specific audiences that we think may need our services down the road.
So we'll establish our communication goals. We usually really try to break that down and think about the various audiences and the intentions of our efforts. So we might have a goal for our website. Well, we will have a goal for our website. We'll have a goal for customer engagement. What are we going to do, and how are we going to engage them in blended learning? How are we going to make sure that they are attending our webinars? We'll do the same thing for advocacy efforts. We'll do the same thing for fund development efforts, and so on. So we really think about our audience, our intention, and then our channels. Once we do that, once we establish our annual goals, then we'll begin to chunk it down and really look at activities month by month. So all of our webinars will be pre-planned for the entire year. All of our portal engagements, our blog posts, our customer stories, those are all scheduled. It's highly detailed.
So at Northern Initiatives, we've always been early adopters of technology and thinking about how do we streamline systems and the things that we're doing manually, just how do we be a little bit smarter about that? So our customer relationship management system has everything in there about our partners, about our customers. We have key information on the loans, the technical assistance. So it streamlines anything that we do. If we're reporting to a funder, if we're wanting to do advocacy, communications, or really targeting who we want to do outreach with. So with technical assistance, we have a weekly report that goes out. It's a customer outreach report. So make sure that we are staying in front of our customers, especially those that we're engaged with and those that we've really identified that could be of risk or have great opportunities of growth, and it drives what we do.
So at Lift Fund, we have various points of data points that we look at, and key performance indicators known as KPIs are big drivers. In 2011 and 2012, we implemented a KPI strategy around our sales force. So baseline data was how many applications are coming in, how many loans are you producing, what does that look like in terms of not only input, but also what does conversion look like? How long is it taking you to convert? was also another big thing here at Lift Fund. When you think about the front line and the human capital that's going into it, plus volume, you have to find solutions and tools that complement the work that they're doing. That's really where marketing and communications comes in. So we have first that handshake. What does that digital handshake look like within our system, within our marketing tools? So using marketing or e-blasts, texts, we use all of that as it relates to nurturing and really placing Lift Fund in front of folks beyond that initial handshake. It's critical to figure out how to do that, and what works varies between market and communities. Take that to the next level. When you look at that handshake and you know that that nurturing is happening from a digital perspective, there is follow-up within that human capital, right? They may say, hey, did you see our newsletter? And here it is again, to get that engagement that you want to have. Again, it's a tool for our human capital, but also for the face of Lift Fund. Then we take it a next level, and that next level is complementing that front line, really from a whole online perspective. Our website is a critical tool for our team members. It allows them to become experts beyond that handshake. It allows for follow-ups to happen, such as, here's a template, right? Here is information that may help you, so that it's not just paper, it's not just that handshake, but there is something that's 24/7, that's omnipresent, that people can land on and find answers if they have questions. Again, how do we live beyond the 8 to 5, the 9 to 6? And this is where it happens on our online and really with our website. From that website is then what other tools can you use, right? And so this is where that SEO strategy plays a key role and where we spend a significant amount of resources. We also use Facebook and we also use Twitter. And we think that while it may not convert high, it creates energy and name recognition that needs to happen. In these tools, these social media tools, you can actually find your rank as an organization compared to your competitors. And it's important to see where you fit and not necessarily aspire to be number one, but recognize that you have to have engagement beyond the interaction of a loan or a seminar. And it means that you're not selling, but you're sharing your expertise and insights with folks who are seeking solutions for their businesses. So again, that human capital plays an entry point, but how do you complement it from an online presence and then using digital solutions in between so that people feel Lift Fund is present beyond the handshake?
When we conduct an annual survey of our borrowers to understand what the trends were over the last 12 months and what they expect over the next 12 months, we use it for grant reporting, but we also use it to inform our strategies over the next year in our communications.
You have to invest in digital solutions for sales. It's a must, not when should we do it. You can start very simple. You can go gangbusters. And I think one of the things Lift Fund has done is looked at each tactic as it relates to digital tools. So we actually have KPIs around e-blasts. We look at how much is opened, how much is clicked through, what are people clicking through? Because this type of insight allows you to then hone in on your messaging and create more opportunities to be in front of folks, whether that's an investor, a donor, or a client. As it relates to creating community. So we use social media to create that connection so that there is a convener, and Lift Fund is that convener in celebrating entrepreneurship and recognizing the challenges of entrepreneurship, and also being able to then be an expert in entrepreneurship. What does an ROI of social media strategy look like? It's starting again with a very simple, how many folks that are currently our clients would actually like us, right, in terms of the social media strategy? Or how many of them would like a picture of themselves being presented by us as an organization? And the answer is a lot of them would, because you create not only a facilitation of knowledge, but you're also celebrating your clients and the people that support you. So how we measure our impact as it relates to digital strategies is we look at our eBlast conversions, we look at our social media likes and followings and reposts, if you will. And then from an SEO strategy, we actually have a goal of where we want our pages to sit. We look every month at where they're sitting and where we want them to move in terms of rankings. So from an SEO strategy, we have a goal of being in the top 5 for all of our marketplaces. And we've successfully done that. But you have to continue to do that. It's not dormant, it's very robust, and you have to stay engaged in it because you lose that ranking if you park your success.
First and foremost, it's a lot about personal contact and personal relationships and building those relationships. Our lenders play a critical role, but so does the rest of the staff. If we are out in the community, if we are attending functions, either in a personal or a professional role, we are always looking for opportunities to kind of tell our story and help people understand what we do. And we really think about, when we think about business development, you really think a little bit about the sales funnel and how people really move through the evolution of being aware and then receiving the education and then receiving conviction, whether that's a referral customer or that's a individual business owner that's coming in.
Building an effective business development strategy begins with analyzing your current loan referral sources and how they provide leads that convert into loans. Then, identifying new opportunities, setting goals, identifying marketing and outreach tactics, and measuring your efforts over time. The business development cycle is all about identifying your interconnected networks to support long-term growth. For more best practices videos, visit the SBA Mission Lending Library. And remember, together, we're growing the economy one mission loan at a time.